Hey YouTube, Zealous Talon here with the review for the Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Legacy Thunder Megazord. Yes, I know the Tiger Zord came out first, but I feel like I should do this first and then I'll talk about the Tiger Zord after, because you can't really fully show off the Tiger Zord's features without, you know, the Thunder Megazord. So, as you can see, massive box. Uh, it's basically the same width as that of Titanus, but it's only as thick as a standard Megazord box. Um, so here, just as a comparison, here is the box for the Tiger Zord. So it's about twice as wide as the normal box, but unlike Titanus, it's the same thickness. Titanus was about 50% wider than the standard box. So yeah, again, like Titanus, this is at the $200 price point. It's a very recent release. I think it only came out it's the end of March now. I think this came out like early mid-February of this year. So this is my most on the ball review that you'll probably ever see. But I really wanted to discuss this, especially since I just reviewed Titanus, and they're basically launching at the same price point. No price drop has been announced or even really offered for this thing yet, unless you have a coupon through Toys R Us or something like that. But it's pretty standard. Foil writing. We get to see that it does the Thunder Megazord attack mode, which is basically just the assault team with the Red Dragon Zord Warrior mode riding on it. 5 Thunder Zords combined. Got the Dragon, Firebird, Griffin, Unicorn, and Lion. Metallic paint and die-cast parts. Well, good God, if it didn't have that, I would be pissed at this point. So we're going to set the box off to the side, get it out the way. So obviously, with our Thunder Zords, we get the Lion, the Firebird, the Unicorn, the Griffin, and the Red Dragon, which is enormously long. So, taking a look at them individually first, because we also get additional accessories, and there's just so much to show off with this set. Thank God you don't have to be like a partner or whatever, or have like a special channel to have like an over 10-minute video now. I am very late to the party on realizing that that's a thing. So, since I can get away with long videos now, we're going to have to do a long video because there's so much to this set. So we're going to look at the Lion here first, which, honestly, this is probably my favorite of the set. This is just absolutely stunning. I really love how the Lion came out. So you can see here the helmet is the back. We have the claws, which have, I feel like the Mastodon in the original Legacy Megazord set, this is probably the heftiest or second heftiest of all the Zords. Like, it's right there with the Red Dragon, because this whole silver section here on either paw is all die-cast metal. So he's just got an incredible amount of heft to him. And it's also worth noting he is accurately detailed. The head is green. It's not black like it was on the original toy. Because, if you are attentive of the Sentai at all, you know that the Ranger that had the Lion was actually green, not black. But we, made it black. We gave it to the Black Ranger over here, because it is mostly black with just green highlights, which is kind of odd. But this green that they use for it is just absolutely gorgeous. You can see it here on the paw. Nice stripe. It's this deep metallic forest green, and it's just gorgeous. If they ever make a Legacy tour, which at the time of this recording there's been no announcement of that, the Falcon Zord just came out. The Ninja Megazord is the next thing that they're going to do. So, but if they do ever get around to tour, I really hope he looks close to this, because this is just a gorgeous green. And then you also have the green gem here on the top, which will be a lot more prominent when we combine these. But not a whole lot of like super sculpted in detail, just kind of what's necessary to be there. And then you get a lot of gold. It's just kind of a lot of like surface variation, not a lot of like paneling. It just, he's just like has almost very few flat surfaces, so the detail on him kind of just really pops out with the paint, and you get some natural shading and depth going on, so that's cool. We'll set him to the back. Next we'll look at the Firebird, which is easily the most underwhelming of them all, but it's still a pretty solid piece. I mean, the Pink Ranger always kind of gets the shaft. That sounded horrible, but the Firebird is still pretty nice looking. It's very well painted and detailed, especially here on the back of the wings. You can see it's got the black trim going along the trailing edge of the wing, which just adds a lot more pop to it. Kind of, you have kind of these feathers implied here. The tail is just that same gold, which is just gorgeous, and it's on like every Zord in this set consistently features black and gold on it, which is a nice unifying touch, and the gold that they chose is just fantastic. And then you also see some like pink highlights here on the wings, which, I mean, if this was like the original toy had all those power bolts and bullshit all over it, and I don't even think there was any pink on the Firebird for the original American release of the Thunder Megazord, so that's nice. And then the tail is a softer plastic along with the head. The head crest here in particular, yeah, the whole head is like a softer plastic, so it doesn't break. The neck is die cast, that's really all there is on it. And then the wings are not pinned like they were on the original. It's just a friction joint, which I actually kind of appreciate, because if they ever were to pop off, you can just pop them right back on. They're very thin though, very, very thin. And it feels kind of fragile, which is a little disappointing. I mean, kind of like the pterodactyl in the original set. It almost feels cheap, and that's kind of unfortunate. Like, I just wish it was a little bit more robust. But what do you do? And the wings have a decent range of motion, just don't hyperextend them or you might wreck the joint. But yeah, you can give it kind of like that flying effect, or, kind of give it a full range of flapping, which is, it's a nice piece. It's nice. It's the weakest, but it's still nice. And here we have the Unicorn, which, is the blue one, Billy's. This is probably, again, I really love this one. Just the level of detail, especially here down in the front, is just phenomenal. The only thing that really this one is a little more disappointing than the Griffin, though, because you have all these visible screw holes on the right side of it, and being the right leg, these are all visible when it's combined. And even the Legacy Megazord, which was based on a budget release, the 2010 one, it's just a remold of a $25 figure, and even back then they had the presence of mind to put the screws on the other side of the saber-toothed tiger so that they didn't show. And it's just extremely frustrating on a figure of this price point that oversight was not corrected, and that you're going to have a leg full of screw holes visible when this is combined. But that aside, I really do love the Unicorn. It's just right here you have all this black, blue, silver, gold, red, all these colors coming down in very fine detail. Really nice detailing here and sculpting throughout the wing and the side, through the front. And here you got you know, even going through the head, you have this lining, and none of this is tampoed on here. This is all painted. This is all sculpted detail, which is just, again, just really nice. I really like it. Griffin is kind of the same thing as the Unicorn. It's the same base build, which again, I feel like they just took like the core concept and just like retooled it, but it's like they're completely different molds. Like none of the parts are actually shared between the Griffin and the Unicorn, so I don't understand why they couldn't do the screw holes on the opposite side of the Unicorn, because they're fine for the Griffin. It's just, it's frustrating. And it's one of the gripes that, there's other gripes I have with this set, but we'll get to them as they come. But yeah, you have really nice silver. There's even gold here on the side in particular. So that's where you have the gold for this one. Everything else is more yellow, I think. A little bit less detailing, at least paint app wise, here on the Griffin, so that's kind of why I like the Unicorn better paint wise. It just has a little bit more going on, but you still have really nice sculpting detail in here. You have the little teeth things molded in, so it's still a good, it's still good. It does what it needs to do. Star of the show obviously is going to be the Red Dragon, though, and it's just massive in the dragon mode, as it should be, but when you look at this side, it's just, I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about with Titanic, is this set is just, has so many exposed screws, and it's really frustrating on a set of this price that there are so many exposed screws, but also Bandai's really good about covering these up with the roleplay things. Like, Saba and the Blade Blaster have almost no screws visible. And I think the Dragon Dagger is kind of the same way, and yet you turn these to the wrong side and they turn into Swiss cheese. And it's just, it's a little bit irksome. There's things I love about this set, and then there's things that just feel lazy. But like, I mean, like all the other Thunderzords, I mean, the paint detail throughout the entire set, the paint detail and the sculpting is without question just amazing. I mean, here on the side you've got all the gold and green. His die cast is here in the core of the figure. You have these little, you know, claws that are formed from the arms. Another thing I do like is that these are only pinned at the body. If I can get that to focus. They're only pinned at the body. Here on the arm, it's a friction joint, so if you do kind of like pull it a little bit too hard, it's likely to pop off here rather than break, which the original Red Dragon was notorious for doing. I mean, even mine broke, and I handled that thing with kid gloves, and they just break. That's what they do. So it's a little bit, it's a nice touch. It should avoid that problem going down the road. And then the gold going in through the horns is just amazing. The detail, again, is amazing, especially since this is a softer plastic. The fact that they were able to get such fine detail in the softer plastic is really quite an achievement. All the teeth are individually painted. There's even like a little hint of a tongue sculpted in there. Inside of the mouth is black. Got more gold striping here, red eyes, yellow eyes. Wow, I'm just off today, but yeah, there's just an incredible amount of detail going on in the Red Dragon, and he's amazing, but he's also really floppy, and I don't understand why, because the original Dragonzord had the extensible tail, which, yeah, these are extending joints as well, but those were able to extend and still hold a pose. And I don't understand why the Red Dragon did not benefit from that same engineering. It just flops, and it's kind of frustrating because like the only way you're gonna get it to hold any particular pose is if you utilize some stands or something. That's about the only way you're gonna be able to get it to work. So Alright, so first thing first, I think we should probably go over the Red Dragon's transformation, since, you know, he is packaged, and when they come in the box, he is in the warrior mode. So let's get him converted to that. So first thing, we're going to remove the head, which the head kind of just flops off if you handle it a little bit roughly. I mean, it doesn't just fall off, but it's very, very easy to remove. So be mindful of that. And then a little bit different, we're not going to take off the whole tip of the tail section, just the very end of it, which just frictions on, and we can pop that off. At which point we can take this and flip it in, flip up the foot, flip out the other foot, and then we can, let's see, we are facing here. All the screws are on the back, so we're going to want to, and we have these clips that are obviously for the butt, so we're going to turn them so that the spines are facing away from that side. And we can flip them over, close these together. We can compress the neck and the tail to form the legs. And I mean, he's not like the super solidest. There's a little bit too much play in the ankles for my taste. He kind of has a tendency to lean if you're not careful. There's just a little, if the ankles were a little bit more solid, I think that would do this thing a world of good. So then we're going to take this piece, which again doesn't really solidly peg in. Like, it's a lot of these little oversights that just kind of, it's really actually hard to justify the $200 price for this figure, in my opinion, just because there's so many little oversights that just should not be present on a figure of this price. Something that's supposed to be this quality, this should peg in. The joints should hold. Like, there's just a lot of little things that just are kind of irksome. But we'll flip that around, flip it to become the back. I should pick a position and just stick with it. The way I do my claws, you can just kind of fold that down, close them together. This one's going to have to rotate once they're locked together. You can do that. And yeah, once he's transformed, he has bicep swivel, gorilla elbows, posable fingers, all the things that he should have. But then we're going to take the end of the tail piece, make sure that you're using the not hollow side. This is the hollow side, this is the not hollow side. But we're going to clip it in right here. There's a little friction joint right in there. And we can take the Red Dragon's head, which this time around we're going to close the mouth. And then we can tab it in up here. It just has two little springy bits in there. And then we can unclip it from the head, fold the horns back, and there we are in warrior mode, which is really nice. He has a head swivel this time around, which is pretty cool. I don't believe that was present on the original. I mean, and the shoulders ratchet and everything, and bicep swivel, elbow, all the good stuff. And then he does also come with his rod, or staff weapon, which, as you can see, is narrow in the middle for him to grip it. It's very well painted. And it's actually kind of got a decent little bit of weight to it. There's no metal in the rod whatsoever, but it's just, it feels nice and solid. Which, this is just getting dirtier and dirtier as I go, but what do you do? I guess call it a staff instead of a rod. But yeah, there you go, warrior mode. Really cool. I always liked this aspect of the Red Dragon. And then we get a little bit more detail revealed in the face. You can see the face sculpt is really, really excellent. And he's got nice yellow eyes with the outline in black. Very cool. Very cool. I always like that. So then the other thing we can do is we can take the remaining Thunderzords and put them on the assault sled, which is just kind of a chunk of gray plastic. It's very hollow on the top, but the underside of it actually has really nice detailing. And there's a couple of like grooves here which correspond to the raised areas up here, but and this is actually sculpted much more accurately to the way it looked in the show versus even the original toy version of the sled. There's no wheels on it or anything, but that's okay. And I actually feel like, I mean, even these, if they do decide to release Tor, he could just have a couple of tabs on the top that could slot into here and help kind of secure it. But yeah, the sled itself is kind of made of 4 parts. You have the basic sled here. You have the sort of handle, quote unquote, which I would not try to lift it by that like the original sled. Like, don't do that, because it's sort of designed to come apart, but it is a little nerve-wracking. Mine's already kind of starting to show stress. Just make sure you're plugging it in the right way. You can also store this adapter piece on the back, which is used for the Megazord formation. And then we also have this clip perch here for the Firebird, which is actually the one that we're going to put on first. So we'll take that, and that just clips on. And we can straighten the wings out if we want. You can take the Lion, and he has Zord Builder ports underneath here, which will go into these front 2 pegs. So you get those pushed down nice, and he's actually pretty secure. Like, I mean, don't pick the whole thing up by the Lion, but he sits a lot. These all attach more firmly than they did on the original toy. So they're not just gonna slide right off. Like, they actually like kind of tab in softly. Like this raised bar here on the side and 2 tabs will go into these 2 slots, and this natural groove here on the unicorn, and the Griffin attaches in the same fashion. So like that, and there we are. That's all completed. And then if you want to do the full assault team configuration, you can kind of bring the unicorn's neck and head back, because apparently that's a thing. Although this doesn't really lock in this position, which is kind of worrisome, because there's little springy bits in there, and I just don't want them to lose their spring. But then you can also take the wings, lower them down, bring the head back. Take your Red Dragon Warrior mode, and then there's 2 spots here in the middle for his feet. You can just get his feet in there, make sure they're nice and pushed down. And there's our completed Thunderzord assault team. Staff in hand for the Red Dragon. Ta-da! Alright, this video is going longer than I thought it would, but hey, that's alright, because, you know, details, the devil is in the details. So, to get the Thunder Megazord itself combined, we're going to take the staff away from the Red Dragon, bring his arms down, bring him out, rotate his legs outward, flip the feet down. There's really nothing new to him, except for you're also going to want to, making sure you hold the dragon neck, you're going to want to pull up slightly on the head, just to give it a little more clearance for the impending chest, and make sure the hands are closed if you haven't already. So we're going to start with the unicorn and the griffin. They transform the same way. You're going to flip these pieces out from the back, flip down the head into the neck, fold the neck down, flip up what will become the foot, rinse and repeat. And then the unicorn becomes the right leg, and the griffin becomes the left. And there we go. And I like that these are silver instead of black like they were on the American toy originally. It's much more accurate. And we'll take the Firebird off of her stand, remove the tail, which we can then plug into either end of the staff. There is no right or wrong side. But just get that in there to form the javelin. And then we can take the clips from the underside, clip it onto the Red Dragon's butt, like so. And then we simply wrap the wings around. These little tabs will go onto the ridges of the legs, and then flip around to complete the skirt armor. And then we can take our lion. This is no longer needed. And the lion's just going to disassemble, so we can start by removing the helmet, very gingerly lifted away by this connection point, at which point we can flip that little tab in and flip up the face mask, set the helmet to the side. And the lion itself, we will remove the paws and then flip up the lion head. And then this is by far the most nerve-wracking part of this entire transformation. These clips are extremely thin and extremely hard to move, which is a terrible, terrible combination of properties. So you just kind of want to get your finger as far in there as you can, as close to the base of the joint as you can, and push up very, very gently, because these basically ratchet between these two positions. And it's terrifying moving these. Like, I am terrified that these are going to break one day. Just by transforming it. It's really, really not good. But that aside, you just slide it onto the chest. And then we'll take the paws, flip out the Megazord's arms. This is going to be on the left side. This one is the right side. And then take the Red Dragon, fold his arms down at the elbow, and then we'll slide his fists into these holes. And it's shocking to me that those clips are so fragile when, like, this part of the lion, this whole arm section, is so robust. Like, and the Firebird is super thin and frail feeling, but it's just a very strange mix of robust parts and frail parts, and I don't understand why the whole thing couldn't be more solid. But we're just going to take the fist, put it in there, and then there's these two circular areas inside of here. There's a lot of black going on, it's hard to see, but that's going to clip around the elbow of the Red Dragon, which has now become basically the shoulder of the Thunder Megazord. And you can kind of get in there and check if you need to, just to make sure it's on. Scoot him back because we really can't see what's going on. There we go. So then we'll take the helmet, and then this tab will go into the back of the Red Dragon's head. And we just thread his horns through the holes in the top of the helmet. And then flip down the face mask, and it'll click into place. And since we pulled up on the neck joint, he still keeps his head swivel, which is a really nice touch. Really nice touch. Then we can lift this arm out of the way. And the final piece of this set is the Thunder Saber, which the scabbard is absolutely gorgeous. And all of this is sculpted. All of this, where you see the gold, that is sculpted detail, which is just amazing. And then the chain is metal as well. The guard is completely sculpted, silver, green paint, black and yellow alternating. Just phenomenal. And then it actually does clip into the scabbard, so you do have to actually, like, unclip it to pull it out. And that's not chromed. That blade is not chrome. That is die-cast metal that has been polished. This sword toy sword, metal blade. Fucking awesome. Why can't the whole thing be that awesome? But yeah, you can simply wrap the chain around the scabbard like so, and then there's 2 tabs on the inside that will peg into 2 slots on the side of the hip. So there you go. And then you can take the hands of the Megazord, which actually open and have swiveling wrists. Very nice. You can put it in here, or you can have him grip it higher up at the base, or have him grip it up towards like the blade of the javelin, so that it, you know, he kind of has it resting on the ground. And then he holds the sword just as easily. This doesn't just slide out of his hand like it did before. He actually holds it really well. But there you have it. That's the Thunder Megazord fully combined. He does have a serious propensity to lean forward. The legs are not the most stable. But, I mean, otherwise, this is it's just gorgeous. Like, the detailing and the paintwork on this figure is absolutely stunning. And it just makes it that much more of a shame that this figure couldn't be more consistently amazing. Like, for all of the detail and all of the paint and just how gorgeous this thing is, there are just some serious, like, there's a lot of nitpicky design flaws, and then there's just serious design flaws with this thing. Like, the leaning I can kind of forgive, like, but why can't the red dragon hold a pose? Why is the lion so terrifying to transform with those clips? Like, why couldn't those have moved out more easily? Or why couldn't those have been metal? You know, why is the die cast in the unicorn and griffin, which are supposed to be the legs, why is it limited to just this little bit right here on the side? You know, why is it just right here at the ankle joint when you have all this metal up here in the shoulder, which makes him, like, the shoulder and the core makes him really top heavy. There's probably twice as much metal, if not, like, there's probably over twice as much metal in the upper body as in the lower body, which doesn't help his leaning issue, like, at all. So yeah, it's really hard to recommend this at 200 because, like, yeah, I said that I would have been willing to drop 200 on Titanus, but Titanus was just built with a much better quality. Like, there's really no way around that. He's just a much more solid figure at the price. And I really feel like this one, you should wait until it's about 150. That would be a very fair price. 200 is actually, I hate to say it, but it's a little bit much for this. It just has a lot of issues that should not be present at this price point. Like, at this price, this figure should be near perfect, and it's not. Like, for 150, yeah, this is good, but yeah, 200, I would wait until I would really wait until this drops in price. But that's why, that's why I wanted to discuss this early, and kind of, address this figure as close to its release as I could. Because I really feel like I really feel like it could have been a lot better, especially for the price. I understand it has to do a lot more than Titanus had to do on its own. You have to have the Red Dragon transform, and this has to combine, and it has to, you had to include the Assault Sled, and these also have to combine with the Megazord, which we'll show off later. There's some nitpicks I have with that going on as well. But as a display piece, this is amazing. As a display piece. As a toy to transform, and I really have to address that because it does have the functionality. Yes, I know it's a collector's item, but it also has to work as a Megazord. and as in, you know, interactively, like you have to be able to transform and combine it, and that aspect is really fucking scary. But as a display piece, as long as you don't display it from this side, because what the fuck, screw holes, Bandai. Just don't turn him so that the right side's facing. But otherwise, he looks really, really good. I really like the way it looks. I really do, and I can't stress that enough. Like, I don't want to be too harsh on this figure. It is gorgeous. But there's just too many oversights, too many flaws to recommend at 200, and I feel like I've beaten that point thoroughly enough into the ground. So, final word on the Thunder Megazord: stunning, beautiful, but wait until the price drops a little bit. I would say 150 is perfectly fine. I wouldn't recommend spending more than 180 on it, just in case they don't drop it that low. But if it does go to 150, jump on this thing. So this has been Zealous Talon with the Thunder Megazord, and y'all have a great day.